When it comes to driving, pedestrians for the most part aren't a nuisance, and it's our responsibility to make sure to look out for them. However, we're not talking about the well-mannered ones in this video, especially since you'll find anything but that on a college campus. The first type of pedestrian I have a problem with are those oblivious students who walk around with headphones and don't even bother to acknowledge their surrounding environment. I don't know about you guys, but when I wear headphones, I actually force myself to become more aware visually, as I realize I've given up my sense of hearing. I'm sure some competent people do this as well, but unfortunately, it seems there is a large majority of people that seem to zone out and let themselves be carried by the music. There's nothing wrong in enjoying music, and I know as someone who's experienced with university life that some days are rough and you just want to listen to some music as you trudge back from a late night exam. But I beg you to please still be considerate of your surroundings. I know music can help you escape the world sometimes, but don't make that escape become a permanent one because you couldn't take the time to at least look both ways before crossing the street. I have to make the statement that I don't hate jaywalking, but I don't condone it either. However, when most people jaywalk, they use some type of logic before performing the action. Except, there are also a select few who don't seem to give a flying hoot about how, when, and where they decide to jaywalk. Let me give an example of what I mean. So when I drive around on campus, one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone comes out from in between two parked cars on the side of the street. This means that I have little to no reaction time as they suddenly come out of nowhere. From a pedestrian standpoint, these idiots need to realize that we drivers cannot see them pop out from in between objects or other objects. So, if they're going to jaywalk, they should at least make the effort to do it from a clear opening. People make fun of Mustangs for running into people, but my brother Omni Rider, who owns a 2017 Camaro SS, absolutely despises when jaywalkers come out of nowhere. The visibility is so poor in his Camaro that it's not his fault for having an even worse reaction time than I do. Also, these irrational jaywalkers need to realize that in certain states or countries, if they get run over, they won't get any sympathy from the law. So if you don't want to end up in the hospital and be charged for breaking the law, please make smart decisions and realize where, when, and how you decide to cross the road. There are some pedestrians who must think that they are some godsend from the heavens above, because these special snowflakes think that everyone must yield to them. These people think the world revolves around them, and make no effort to take into consideration where others are heading before deciding where they need to go. I've got several examples of these guys. So let's say another car and me are at a stop sign, and these are the crosswalks available for use to pedestrians. There's a pedestrian right here, and let's say the pedestrian's goal is to get right here. So logically, I need to yield to them as they need to cross in front of my car first, and the other person on this side of the road can go since I'm obviously unable to move, so he may as well go. But no, that's not what happens. 50% of the time on college campuses, these genius pedestrians think there's some hot stuff and just take the diagonal route. Yup. That's right, they block the other car and me from going because they think they're hot stuff and some special snowflake who doesn't need to use crosswalks, and instead, politely crossing in front of one car, they chose to screw over both of us. This isn't even the worst example. There are some people who haphazardly walk along the road, sometimes right in the middle of it, impeding traffic. I really get ticked off when I see someone walk during a green light when they clearly don't have the walk sign on, and force people to suddenly brake for them. The worst part is, whenever we almost hit them, they look at us like it's our fault. They'll shout, "Learn to drive," or "Look where you're going." Are you serious? I need to look where I'm going? These little turds, let me tell you, they're lucky that I'm a nice driver, but if my Mustang had a mind of its own, it'd probably want to run them over, just to let natural selection take place. My cyclist buddies, this entry is for you guys, as believe me, I feel your guys' pain. So for the most part, when pedestrians walk in the bike lane, it creates a minor nuisance for the cyclist. But on a college campus, most bike lanes are along the sides of the roads. I'm not sure if this is a global phenomenon or if Americans are just lazy, because either way, I'm a little disappointed. If you're from another country besides the United States, comment down below if pedestrians walk in the bike lanes where you're at. Anyways, back to the point. These pedestrians think it's a genius idea to walk in the bike lane whenever the sidewalk isn't cool enough for them. This causes the cyclists to swerve around them, which in turn also causes cars and motorcycles to swerve around the cyclist who's swerving around the pedestrian. This then causes the car to get mad at the cyclist for not using their lane, but it's not their fault since the cyclist is mad at the pedestrian who isn't using the sidewalk and instead using their lane. The situation is made even worse when there's oncoming traffic, so the car is unable to swerve around the cyclist as they must wait for the cyclist to overtake and swerve past the pedestrian who was an idiot and walking in their lane. Why? Why do people do this? Whenever I'm riding my Kona Doo, I absolutely hate it when I ring my bell or politely tell them to get out of the bike lane, but I'm instead met with, "Don't be such an a-hole." How am I the bad guy? Are they joking me? I can't take responsibility for their incompetence, but apparently they think I should. Another common response I get is, "Oh, I didn't know this was the bike lane." Yeah, nice try, but it's marked very evidently. What you actually meant to say was, "I'm walking while staring at my phone and thus lost track of where I was going, and instead of looking up for 1 second to realize I'm no longer on the sidewalk, I keep looking down at my phone, prioritizing my conversations with my non-existent friends and looking at dead, outdated memes." How did they not feel the transition between the curb and road when they went from the sidewalk to the bike lane? As I mentioned in a lot of my other rant videos, humankind continues to surprise me with the new levels of stupidity we are able to achieve. Even when pedestrians are following the rules, like walking on the sidewalk or walking on crosswalks, they still find a way to screw everything up. Once again, my cyclist buddies, this is probably pain you guys can relate to as well. Have you ever just seen a pedestrian who just for some reason can't walk competently in a straight line? Well, you definitely have if you're literally on any college campus. So I understand no one actually walks perfectly straight when going from point A to point B. However, at the very least, whenever they make turns or movements, it's noticeable enough where no accidents occur. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about people who literally slalom or walk zigzagged. I'm not even joking, guys. This is a thing I've encountered and had to deal with. Whenever I'm riding my skateboard, which by the way is an actual skateboard and not a longboard like other college students constantly mix up, but that's a rant for another time. Anyways, I occasionally find myself riding behind these guys, and when I try to overtake them, they suddenly move to the left and then to the right and then to the left and back to the right. Like, holy crap, make up your mind. Just go straight and let the overtake happen. This happens when I'm on my bicycle, and hell, even when I'm driving. If you thought overtaking them and dealing with them from behind wasn't annoying enough, it's even worse when you encounter them face to face. I'll be riding my skateboard perfectly straight, and suddenly they think it's a great idea to walk towards me, and I have to turn and bear on the left side of the sidewalk. But then they change their mind and they go back to the left, and I just manual off the sidewalk and ollie back on once I pass them because I'm not dealing with their BS. They then look at me like I'm trying to be some cool kid bragging, which, by the way, if you ever see a skater ollie up and down sidewalks, we're not bragging. The world doesn't revolve around you. Stop thinking we're trying to impress you, cause we aren't. Unlike bicycles, us skaters aren't blessed with the ability to just ride up a square edge curb, so we have to jump on it. The worst part is 99% of the time, they're the one who instigates the sudden movement. I always witness this scenario over and over where the cyclist or skater is literally going completely straight, but for some reason the pedestrian starts zigzagging in an attempt to dodge them as if they're reading the next movement. If you want to move out of the way of a skater or cyclist, don't. Just keep walking straight and we'll be going straight as well. If you're on a crash course, stand still. Don't do that stupid hallway dance with a bicycle or skateboard, because 90% of the time a crash occurs, and trust me, the pedestrian's on receiving end. Hallway dancing is awkward and adorable when it's an actual hallway or between two pedestrians, but don't try that on a faster moving object, especially not a car. Oh my god, I forgot that. I still have examples for cars as well. The pedestrian will be walking on a sidewalk and I'll be trying to make a right turn while it's a green light. The pedestrian has right of way. Even though I have a green, I yield to them. They decide to walk for a bit, then see me, and for some reason, they'll get back on the sidewalk, to which I look at them awkwardly and decide to keep going with my right turn. It's only as I decide to keep going where they suddenly change their mind and decide they're going to walk after all. Why? I'm done. I'm so done with these freaking pedestrians. Like this video and share it with friends, especially if any of them are someone on this list. If you like a car channel that uploads regularly, make sure to subscribe. Check out my brother Omni Rider's channel, especially if you're a fan of Camaros. Thanks for watching, Blade Angel out.